It's amazing what happens when you make enough money.
Yeah.
Not a lot of money, but enough money that you can become real comfortable in some things that you really don't like, but you're like, well, but I've got, I only got these car payments and this mortgage and, I'm making it, I'm covering it all. I'm doing my job. And it's like, this is kind of what I do. Yeah. And I'm on the road traveling or doing whatever the kind of pains of sales are. And I'm not, and so people that choose to stop and make the leap and do something else, a whole different industry or do a startup or whatever it might be. I have a lot of respect. A lot, like the 22-year-old, like I started Orange Coat at 23. I didn't make a lot of money. I didn't need a lot of money. It wasn't a thing to jump to. It was just like, well, we can make this work. I would rather work for myself than someone else. And let's do it. But if you're choosing to say you're a, engineer and you're making well over six figures and you say, I'm going to stop doing this to do that. That's a level of guts that I've always respected and feel like that imposter syndrome when people were like, oh, you're so brave for starting your company. You're like, oh, it's the best option out there at the time. It wasn't like a bravery thing.
So we could be honest about that part. So especially with more mature founders. And when I say by that, it's like not fresh out of college, right? They have 10 plus years experience doing whatever in their industry. They have, a lot of them already have like a nest egg or a companion that's able to help out with bills and all that. And I think a lot of people don't share that part. But I think I shared this on one of our other talks. I will tell them certain things and I'm like, oh, but you know what? I left out this part, and this part, right? So I didn't share the whole stack with you, right? And most people are only giving you, right, the version that is inspirational, but that's right, not the whole story. And so those people who have the engineering income, right, who still have the mortgage and the cars and this and that, they still have a nest egg. And most are able to borrow from 401k and pay themselves back through monthly payments and it not affect their life at all.
And the spouse part, I think we did talk about it before, but that is a secret weapon that few people really consider. It's like, oh, this person's married to a doctor.
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah,
those who don't have that, I try to be very honest with them. Like, don't look at the headlines that you see in TechCrunch or Hypopotamus or Atlanta Inno and be like, yeah, I can really identify with that person, because you don't know everything that they have in their stack. And when I say stack, is in their tech stack, in their financial stack, their money stack, right? You don't know what kind of resources they have in people. I mean, you just have no idea. And also not just people, connections, not just industry knowledge. There's so many things that go into it. So you really don't know unless they tell you.
Mm-hmm. That part is, just your friend group is sometimes known as like a secret weapon in your stack. Like,
wow. Sure.
I remember like some of the early big sales I made were just like, you had whatever, it happened, how it happened and all this kind of stuff. But as I got older, some of my friends got successful as well. Mm-hmm. And they were like in a place where buying decisions were being made. And you're like, oh, I can talk to person X now over a cocktail and they're going to say, oh, well, yeah, we're also looking to do this. And you're like, oh, I can help with that. And like, it's this kind of weird thing that people don't, that your stack's a good way of putting it. I like to that's a good way to think that it's, and it's an ugly kind of idea to imagine like your friendships are business things. And I would not ask to do that, because that is a terrible way to have a friend. But if you do have a friend that is also can help with that kind of stuff, I mean, it does help. So
it does help. I mean, that's why the companies build advisory boards and all of that. The advisory board is really to use their network. That's really, and they genuinely want to help.
Yeah, I think that is one of those things that you find a lot, at least I've found, with the expectation of people or companies, an incorrect expectation of ATDC, people are new to the ATDC as far as a company goes, is they want the mentors to be connectors right away, and they want the coaches to be connectors right away. And to some degree, the coaches, that makes sense. But like the people that are volunteer mentors, like if the only reason you want to meet that person is you want them to, you've seen their LinkedIn page and you want to meet 15 people.
I know you worked at Coca-Cola.
Yeah, exactly.
But wait a minute. Hold on, Adam. I have a little gripe with that situation. Being a coach there, right? We do use our network to help companies, but I still think companies expect that prematurely, because first we have to know that you are about your business. And we don't know that in the first week or month or whatever it is. And so we're risking being able to utilize our network to help other people if you're an irresponsible founder with that connection. So we have to be careful of the resources. And I think that founders, there's a little bit of selfishness that has to be involved when you're the CEO of anything. But you also have to be realistic about what you're expecting other people to put on the line for you. So you also have to make sure that you're responsible with those connections. So I'll tell you, here's my issue. It's like, I'll make introductions. This is where founders really need to learn is if I make an introduction to you to somebody from my personal network that can help you, it is important for you to then come back and say, oh, this is what I've done with that person, or the conversation led to this. Like, let us know how that went. But what ends up happening is either they don't follow up with the person, or if they don't get what they want from the person right away, they cut it off, and like, you can't do that because relationships are valuable, but people are valuable. And just because you can't use them in that instance doesn't mean that relationship isn't valuable. So I think that a lot of founders need to understand about the realities of relationship building for the long term. And
coaches are people too. So like treat them not like a magical Rolodex, but as a person that you want to build a relationship with.
Right.
And then they might be able to help with that. And I do think you're right. I agree that I think there's like transactional type introductions that are all right to ask for earlier on. So if you're like, I don't know how to do search engine marketing and I need to pay someone to do that. Do you know someone I can pay? Well, then here's a list of some people that I've heard that are pretty good or have worked with and are pretty good. That one, it's a business introduction. But if you're like looking for a kind of more broad or deeper a deeper relationship, and it's, going to be something about investing, or it's going to be something about whatever it might be, I think it's, you do have to have some level of you have to be vetted yourself before you start getting the clinic area leads, the really good introductions.
Absolutely. I compare it to being a real life, like LinkedIn connection. So let me see if you can identify with this. Have you ever connected, someone asked to connect with you, you connect with them, and then they try to sell you something?
Yeah.
Like, no one likes that because it's very transactional and it's over a social media platform. But some people actually do that in real life. Like if they can't sell you the first time, or they can't get you to give them what they're asking for. So I got it. I just showed a message today for an example. I had someone message me through LinkedIn and said, I don't know this person. We've been connected for I don't know how long now. I don't remember how we connected, but I can see that they've never messaged me before. We've never had dialogue before. And so they literally messaged me out the blue and said, hey, I'm looking for someone for my son. He's recently graduated college and he needs some direction. Can you tell me exactly what you do? No, I didn't even respond to that. So you're looking for a mentor for you don't know anything about, like, we've never even had dialogue. Like, people behave that way in real life. Mm-hmm. And that's scary.
Yeah. That is, there's a couple parts of that, which is one, if you're asking or for mentorship, job, whatever, for your child, I'm not interested. Like, have them do it, kind of thing. Like, it drives me crazy. Like, that it happens every once in a while. It's just like, same thing with even selling Girl Scout cookies. I will buy a Girl Scout cookie from a Girl Scout, but I'm not going to buy it from the parent. And so when they come around with their sheet and say that my daughter's selling Girl Scout cookies, I'll have her come in to the office. Let's do it. But I'm not letting you be the go-between for that kind of stuff. Yep. So that drives me crazy. And LinkedIn is tough with that. I've actually just recently started going back through some of my connections. Like, how do I know these people? There was a time when I would like just click. It was a Wild West with all that, and you just connect with anybody. And then I was like, well, I'd rather have met that person in person before, had a conversation with them before, just so I didn't have these weird things like that pop up. And so it like limits your theoretical network that way. But for me, it just became easier to be like, no, we'll someone reaches out to me before now. I would have said, if you want to, connect, let's have a coffee first. And now there's no such thing as a coffee. But that would be kind of the only thing, because I want to be able to go through and be able to say, oh, I know why I know this person. I know what they do before, like, I can have any kind of online conversation with them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally feel you. Totally. It's much easier to manage that way. Yeah. See, I never know, because I do speaking engagements and stuff, like different places. I may have met her before and maybe I just don't remember, and people will connect from there. So,
and you're really good at being able to have and maintain multiple conversations digitally with people and all that kind of stuff, and building your brand. That term, personal brand, kind of makes me cringe, but you're really good at that kind of stuff, and I think it's something that we could all learn from you.
Thank you.
There's being some level of open and sharing on those platforms that I a couple of years ago had to just kind of take a step back from all of it, because it was nasty out there on especially on like Twitter and stuff. It just wasn't fun to be. It wasn't fun to be on there. Mm-hmm. But it's it's part of it, and I think you do a good job with it. So we should all be more like Linda.
It's funny you say that, because Berkeley was like, you got that on lock right there. I was like, oh, okay, thanks. So that's twice this week someone has said that. So I'm like, I really appreciate that. But all I'm trying to do is share, which is what we're doing here, with our letting people listen in on our conversation. So all I'm doing is trying to share. If it's helpful to someone, great. And build relationships. And not even for me, because a lot of the relationships I built, I hand them off to other people to be helpful to them. So I have to be open to increase my impact for helping people.
It is how often, I mean, we were on a call last week, and at almost every coaching call I've been on since I've started, revolves at least somewhat around part of your goal of the marketing of your company is to share helpful stuff. And that's like step one.
Yep.
Like, why is anybody even going to be involved with you if you're not willing to share helpful advice?
Right.
Or how are you going to get into a market without people in that market saying this person is here to help and is here to share and all that kind of stuff? So it does, kind of trickle down to your personal brand doing that kind of same kind of stuff. But if you're starting a company, share helpful stuff. That's kind of step one.
Simple. It's simple. That's a simple way to explain it. Share helpful stuff. And don't always ask for anything in return. Like, so I was trying to explain the difference between demand gen and lead gen to a founder this weekend. And so the way you just described share helpful stuff, that's demand gen, right? Share helpful stuff. You're not asking for anything in return. Lead gen, you're asking for something in return. An email address, a sale, a call, a demo, right? So, but you're still sharing helpful stuff to get that. You should be. You shouldn't just go into the sale, because otherwise that's not marketing, that's sales.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And keep, talk about, your 12-step process of going through it. Like, that can be just as easily as one of those things you do every day is you're, sharing helpful stuff. Sometimes
that's right.
Directed at an individual, sometimes directed at a group or a wider audience. But it's just like, get to it, do it. Just do it.
like you said. Just do it. So the CMO of who's he with now? Is he with Drift? I don't know if you ever heard of Dave Gearhart. You know Dave?
No, I don't.
He is, I think he's with Privy now, but I think he was with Drift before, but everyone knows Dave. He's a CMO, marketing guy. He has a book. He always shares great information on LinkedIn. And he's maxed his connections. So people just follow him, right? He's just a really personable person. And that's the way his content is as well. And he posted today, he was like, he just on LinkedIn, he just posted, he's like, yeah, so you guys are overthinking it. Most people are not going to read your posts anyway. So just go ahead and post it. Most people are not even going to see it. So I'm like, you're overthinking it.
That is 100% the case. A fun thing to do is the first time someone changes from like sending out a mass email in the blind carbon copy to using a MailChimp or something, and they realize how few people actually open up their emails, and and they freak out and they're like, "Oh, this is broken. It doesn't work right." And you're like, "No, it works right. No one reads these emails. Like, no one does. Like, you're at 20%. That's a great number. Congratulations.
That's a great number. I think we need to share that with startup founders. But I just talked to these people and they told me they wanted to be on my email list."
Yeah, it was between that and this will date how old I am now, but there was a time before Google email where we would have to do hosted email for clients, and then we would transition them all to Google Apps emails, and they would inevitably call and say it's broken, I'm not getting enough emails, and it's just like, no, you actually have a spam filter that works now, and you actually got much less email every day than you thought, and you get less email than you think, and no one reads the emails that you send. So these are two, and no one's ever said there's too much butter in the mashed potatoes. Those are three things that are guaranteed in life.